Hey everybody, it's JW from Sober Militia Podcast and X Stop Writing. I'm here with Jen today from Sober Sis, and she runs a 21-day challenge that she's going to talk to you about, as well as some of her sober journey. Jen, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Sure will. I'm Jen Couch. I'm a pretty much retired gray area drinker. 49 and just kind of entering the new empty nester season of my life, and I thought it would be totally different than it is. I thought I'd be on patios doing happy hours and becoming a professional patio person and happy hour Groupon monger, but instead I am this sober-minded present, about to hit the 50s with a whole different mindset than I did my 40s, and I'm super excited about that.
That's awesome. Yeah. So tell us you're doing this whole program. It seems to be going really well for you. And tell us kind of how your journey got to there, maybe a little bit before you started, and what kind of brought it up, what was the mindset behind it and the motivation and those kind of things.
For sure. Well, thank you again for the opportunity to share the story and keep the conversation going. I'm so about just conversation. Everyone's got a story. I think it's just wonderful that we're bringing in mindfulness and different vantage points. So my story actually starts a little bit later in life to the drinking scene, which is somewhat unique about me. I've learned that it's not as unique as I thought it was, because there are quite a few of us that ended up kind of drinking later in life, kind of late to the party, if you will. So I didn't really become a social drinker, a routine, habitual drinker until my young 30s. Which was kind of new to me. I was a married working mom when I found myself in a situation where, I was doing the happy hour scene in a really stressful work environment. And for whatever reason, I think it's several reasons, I had just not really been a drinker in my youth, in my high school years, college. I mean, sure, I dabbled here and there, but it really wasn't for me. I didn't like, it kind of looked out of control. My fear side of me was like, whoa, that looks like kind of risky behavior. Again, kind of dating myself here, but this is pre-Uber, pre-cell phone. So I'm like, yikes, I don't think I want to get, out of my mind at some frat house and then think, how am I going to get out of here? So I watched enough people do that, no judgment, but just more of a learning opportunity. So that's just my personality. So by the time I showed up in my young 30s, someone at this happy hour said, "Hey, Jen, why don't you have a glass of wine with us?" And it was as if like the veil was removed or something. And I said, well, gosh, why don't I come to think of it? It was like in my 20s, I was building my family. I was building business. I was building. And so it didn't really occur to me to just jump in. So long story short, in my 30s, that's what I did, was I jumped in, all in. I was like, okay, I am clearly late to the party. I can see now why the party got started in the first place, because I do remember my first drink, my first real drink, my first drink where I was going to really start the journey of drinking. And I went into it with, what's the big deal anyway? Why do people so love this stuff? Why do they have boxes where you can just do like a little spout? I mean, what is the big draw here? And seriously, I had my first glass, and my friend that I was with jokingly, but kind of seriously said, wow, okay, really? You're not really a drinker? Whoa, we'll start you out easy. We'll get you a white Zinfandel, like rosé, and let you sip on that. And I did, John. I got to tell you, I did sip on that and immediately felt the effects and thought, wow, okay. So I spent my 30s really catching up, learning how to drink, what to drink, when to drink, how to drink properly, if you will. Made a few epic fails in there. Like what people do in their teenage years, I'm doing as a young 30-something mom, which immediately brought a level of cognitive dissonance for me, a level of kind of confusion and shame, because I was trying to also be in control and responsible, because I didn't have those teenage years where it was like, wheels off, let's go. I was more like in a grown-up, very mommy culture, mommy juice kind of way, going to adhere to this new way of being. So my 30s, again, kind of catching up. In fact, even towards the end of my 30s, I took a break. I took a break from drinking because I felt like it had creeped in so fast, so steady. It was more a steadiness about it, like a constant lure. That by the time I was about 38, about to hit the big 40, I thought, whoa, I don't like the direction this is going in. I had a few red flags, warning lights coming on, like how excited I was for it to be 5 o'clock. It was like, really, And I noticed that, one just was never enough. It was like, if I'm going to have one, I'm definitely going to have two. And then, that second one kind of wants that third one. And so I just kind of tapped the brakes and took a whole year off of drinking to kind of prove I could. Got my husband on board and said, hey, let's do this. Let's just take it out of our lives. So we did. We did it. But here's the deal, and you'll really appreciate this with all the mindset work that you do. We didn't do it with change of mindset. We did it with complete willpower, deprivation mindset, and just more of like a fitness health goal, but not the holistic goal of real change. And so sure enough, I did my year, served my year of not drinking. And that's kind of what it felt like. It's like, okay, check. I did all the holidays. I did all the anniversaries. Now can I go back to drinking? Because clearly I can stop what I want. I don't have that big of a problem. And now I feel like I can keep it in check. And that worked for a while. I got to say, for weeks or months, I felt really back in control in my relationship. Okay. But then 40 hit for me. Yeah. And not to blame the children, but that's when my daughter, my oldest, turned 13 when I turned 40. And for the next 5 years, 40 to 45 for me, 13 to 18 for that one, we went on a ride. It was just a ride of a place that I'd never been before, raising a teenagers. And I found myself turning up the drinking dial in a way that had not been turned up in my 30s. It became much more of a emotional coping tool for the anxiety that I was feeling, sometimes the helplessness that I was feeling with raising teenagers today. And a lot of the boredom, a lot of the loneliness of those years of letting go and having those big gaps of time where you're waiting up for curfew. My husband's an early to bed, early to rise kind of guy. So he'd have 2 or 3 beers and then just go to bed at 9 or 10. I'd have 2 or 3 drinks and then wait up till midnight. And that gap for me is where I just found myself in front of Netflix, just kind of having one more. And I did not like the way that made me feel. I didn't like the way I was presenting myself. Even with my kids, just even being a little glassy-eyed was not good enough for me. I did not like that. And so at about 45, that's when I realized, okay, I'm at a crossroads in my mom world. I'm at a crossroads. I've raised someone to be 18 and on their own. It's time that I kind of take a turn as well. So I looked at my life at 45 and I said to myself, like in my own brain, Jen, if you want to show up at 50 different than you did 40, which was pretty overwhelmed, kind of under the pile, didn't really show up with what I wanted it to have happen, I said, you're going to have to make some changes. And it was obvious to me. The first, most tangible lead domino that I could change in my own life, that I had the most control over, was my wine o'clock habit. And so that's where I started. It was April of 2017. I said, you know what? My husband and I went out. We had 2 margaritas on the rocks at one of our favorite restaurants. Oh, sorry. And so... that was loud. And so I looked at my husband. We had our 2 margaritas and I said, babe, I'm taking a 6-week break. I don't know what that's going to mean after the 6 weeks, but I'm not going to just try to quit. I'm going to try to learn. I'm going to try to learn everything I can about myself and about drinking and why.
That's awesome.
Why this is even a thing in my life. It was not always a thing. And I have a lot of very vivid memory in my life of it not being a thing. So I kind of want to get back to that girl. I'm not sure where she is. I've kind of lost her in the last 15 years or so. So that began my journey. And that was, like I said, in April of 2017. And so the idea for Sober Sis came about 8 or 9 months into my alcohol-free journey.
Nice. And so you did that 6 weeks and that just lasted indefinitely.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I took my quote last drink, and I still don't really say it's my last drink because I do kind of hold the option, the choice to drink what I want when I want, mindfully, when I really know what I know, which I can't unknow what I know now, and I'm thankful. I just can't see a reason to bring it back in.
Right.
It holds so little value to me now that I've broken it down from my belief system to the reality to what drives and motivates my behavior, my habits, and my triggers and cravings. And I've just dissected it so deeply inside that it just doesn't align with who I am anymore.
Yeah.
And so, so that's brought a lot of freedom. I really look at this alcohol-free lifestyle, this hangover-free lifestyle, as just ultimate freedom. Like, oh my gosh, so many people want this. They're just not sure how to get there. And it's very scary to think of failing again. And the defeat that comes with yo-yo drinking, which is what I was doing for about 5 years.
Yeah, I think that's been a big push for me too, is this idea that people are struggling with and why they're struggling. And, in where you and I have kind of a similar story, and it's kind of neat, except that I started at like 12. So I started at 12 and went for, 30 some odd years. But when I decided to come off of it, it was very similar. I was just like, hey, I got to figure this thing out, and my wife and I did it together. And we were like, hey, we got to look at it. And it was kind of like what you said. It's like, I need to understand this, and why is it such a big deal?
Mm-hmm.
And for me, it was, I started reading some Quit Lit, and it was Annie Grace's book, This Naked Mind, that really did it for me. And I think I had a similar idea in the sense that what really tipped me over was I just started looking, and I call it the society of alcohol. Mm-hmm. And it pissed me off.
Yes.
Just the way we were kind of taught to enjoy it from when we're kids, right? You got a little bit of a different story there, but you saw it, right, growing up.
It was definitely there. And it's gotten amped up. I mean, in fact, it's funny, today in my reset, that's one of the things that we talk about is the marketing and the messaging. It's just unbelievable how much money the alcohol industry throws at the messaging that says it's totally normal to drink kind of anytime, all the time, every day, lunch, dinner, and our bodies really aren't even designed for that.
Right, of course, yeah. And I think, it's just that whole touting it is the way to live a good life, Even in this COVID time, I've seen commercials with alcohol talking about, hey, this is what you need. We've had all these problems and you're stuck at home. Here's what you need to live better. And I just go, what? But that was the tipping point. It was me when I started looking at all these things and thinking to myself, that is messed up. That doesn't make sense. How they do it in, commercials, how they do it in advertising, how they do it in movies, how they talk about it, how our friends talk about it, like all that stuff. I just started being aware of it. And the more I became aware, the more it just made me angry. And I'm like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah, I'm so right there with you. I really do. I've gone through that. I'm less there now, but you've got to have a little bit of that always burning, I think, inside to be a part of this revolution, this movement of present living, alcohol-free living, because our society, we're so taught to numb out. We're so taught to check out. And I think it's the most brave, amazing thing to say, I'm present 24/7. Good, bad, ugly, lame, fun. I get feedback all the time of reality. Reality is always talking to me. And I got an ear to hear what's going on in my own mind, body, and spirit, and the world around me, because I'm present. And that's so important to me. I talk all the time about guarding and protecting my sober mind. I feel like knowledge is power, and my sober mind is the weapon. And
nice.
It's my edge out there. It's your edge out there.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And I think, just engaging in conversation has been fun for me with people that, you used to hang out with. Right. And if you ever just sit, and this was one of the first things that really I noticed when I first became sober, was being out with friends and watching how the conversation starts out kind of, pretty good. And then the drinks start pouring, and then the way the conversation just tanks. You know what I mean? And it doesn't take very long.
True fact.
It's fun. It's almost like an experiment. It's like, just go out there and watch it, because as soon as you do, you're like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to sound like that.
Yeah, I agree with you. Those first few awkward moments are worth getting past and through, because here's the deal. This is what I've come to learn. Those first few moments are kind of awkward for everybody, because it's adults getting together with different energies, different days that they've had. People are coming in with different things going on in their lives than anyone really realizes or knows about. So there's like a clash of all these insecurities, uncertainties. Some people are really excited. Some people are really tired. There's just that moment where it's a little bit chaotic and everyone's looking to go, where do I land? Do I fit here? Am I good? Am I okay? Do y'all accept me? And again, it sounds like high school, but I think it's true than just social norm. And that's where most people in that intermittent, chaotic, kind of unsure time grab that drink and alter it. Versus what I've learned is staying present through that moment. It's fleeting. It's small. And once I get past that and the drinks are flowing, but they're not flowing for me, I become more and more confident and more stable in who I am by being there. And it's like the reward as the night goes on.
Yeah, I agree. And people talk about how, being sober is boring. And I'm like, I've found the exact opposite. I really enjoy my time better. I find I'm funnier because I feel like my jokes make more sense, and you're just able to engage more and with more people than you used to be able to, and so I feel like it's a blast, I really, really enjoy it.
I do too. I feel like I'm way more myself as a non-drinker, because when I was drinking, I was always second guessing. Is this really me? Am I too loud? Am I being obnoxious? Am I laughing when it's not really funny? There's a disconnect there. And now I'm connected. So, I mean, you do get what you see. And there's a confidence that comes in that, because I'm not second guessing myself as much as when I was drinking. And I'm not trying to taper myself down. I live bigger. And when I was drinking, I was living smaller.
Yeah, when it makes sense, right? Because that what the alcohol is doing to your mental faculties, right? You know it's happening, and so you're aware of that, and you get nervous about it. Like, am I slurring? Right,
exactly.
Am I saying something
nervousness, especially around family, extended family, children. There's almost that kind of like, I don't know, I describe it like trying to walk a tightrope, where it's like I'm trying to let loose, have fun, woo! But then I'm also trying to maintain control, be responsible, be a good example. And the friction that causes for me, and I think a lot of people, was so unenjoyable and so exhausting that it made it not really worth it because of that second guessing and that misaligning versus, well, I'm here.
Yeah. Well, and the memories too, right? That's another thing I love is I went to a concert not long after I quit drinking, and it was somebody I really, really adored. And I remember sitting there at the concert and watching everybody do their thing, and I was just locked onto this artist, and I was watching it, and I remember sitting there thinking, I'm going to remember every second of this. And that felt so cool, because I don't know how many events I missed half of because I was drinking, right? I wasn't present. Yeah.
And it really doesn't take that much, that much alcohol. You used to think, that's really for people way further down the spectrum, to have blackouts or brownouts or grayouts. But what I'm finding, how common it is, because I definitely did that too, just kind of the gaps, the gaps in the movie, like literally having to watch a show. Because the last 20 minutes, I'm like, I'm sorry, I missed the cliffhanger. I don't think I saw that, but I did. And no more rewatching of the shows. The movies.
Just the other day, my wife and my kid and I were sitting there watching a movie, and I watched a half of an entire movie before I realized, I've seen this.
You've seen it.
I didn't half it, like an hour and a half of a movie before I realized, hey, I've sat through this entire thing before and did not remember it. That was just awful. I'm like, oh my God, this is horrible.
Right.
But those memories are good, right? They kind of remind you about things.
They do. It's okay. It's okay to remember really where we've been, because we kind of have a vision of where we want to go.
Yeah, for sure. So one of the things I've been really playing with, and just since I have you, I'm going to throw it at you and just kind of see what you say. I think you've read some of my stuff, so I think you know where I'm going with it. But the idea of, when you approach a sobriety, and if you do it with the right mindset and with the right tools and all that kind of stuff, do you feel like there's a potential for sobriety to actually be easy, like I've been talking about? Is that something that you can see? Or because I've heard a lot of backlash, I keep I've been tiptoeing around it, but I'm at the point now where I'm like, screw it. It can be, right?
Yeah.
But it sounds like you had that experience too.
I did personally. I mean, again, our own personal experiences are best because no one can argue with what I personally experienced. And I can just say I was ready. I had taken a lot of miniature breaks and moderating and really done a lot of, like I said, kind of the yo-yo in, back and forth, Whole 30 cleanse, go back in, and so I'd done so much of that I already knew my behavior, if I just tried to modify that, was going to lead me right back to where I'd been. So I had to backtrack even further into my thinking. And so once I was really ready, they say when the student is ready, the teacher arrives. And that's when I started understanding all the resources you mentioned, Annie Grace. There are some real impactful leaders out there who were just getting on the scene or had been on the scene for a year or two at that point. And I just absorbed them all as quickly but methodically as I could, because I looked at it like a marathon, not a sprint. Right. And so I knew I had that first 42 days, that's 1,000 hours commitment. And I thought, well, my goodness, that was kind of my motto at the beginning is, Jen, just don't drink. I mean, like you have the physical ability to choose that. Because I was physically addicted, I could choose to not drink alcohol and be able to physically follow through with that. So that's kind of the definition of a gray area drinker. Is someone who has the physical ability and willingness to be able to stop on their own, and they can. I do work with women get going in the 21-day, reset challenge, and they realize it's very difficult for them to get a day under their belt. And that's a different thing. I was able really just to drink my 2 margaritas on the rocks and walk away. It wasn't super easy at first, but I was so determined that really, now looking back, it really was fairly easy considering how tied to it I was to just walk away. But I can't, much like your work, I just kept working on my mind and challenging my beliefs, and read Annie's book that summer, that 2017, huge impact on my life as well. And that's when I started to my goal at first was not to dig into all the reasons why I drank and why my goal was just don't drink. I mean, if you have to walk around the block, get on Amazon and buy a bath bomb, I don't care what you do, Jen, just don't. And I was so determined and committed that I think I got through that first 21 days, which is about how long it takes to break or change a habit. So I started a different habit loop. And then I kept going, so it created a lifestyle. Yeah. But in those initial, it really wasn't that hard, because what I was gaining was so much better than what I was losing. I was gaining the good night's sleep. I was gaining more resilience and self-respect. I was gaining more connection with my kids. I was gaining more social time that, I had friends that that still drink, that I was remembering my time with them. And I just felt more myself. And I felt so good. I was like, whoa, I'm getting glimpses of who I already am that's been buried underneath this pile of, using this substance, this elixir to modify my life and, bend reality. So if I can just find who I am, I think I can work on that, girl. And so I just kept on keeping on. I remember vividly hitting my 100 days. I'm not a big counter, but something about the 100 days that I was like, wow. And I mean, I had anniversaries, Mother's Day, my birthday. I was given a bottle of rosé at the Mother's Day brunch as my party favor. Oh, I was 3 weeks alcohol free, and I said, thank you. And I just ended up leaving it behind. I mean, I had real tests right off the bat, but every time I had a little win, it created momentum.
Yeah, those wins are powerful, right?
They really are.
And I remember enjoying, because I started I started writing a blog on day 2 of quitting, and I just made a deal with myself. I was going to write a blog every day, and that's what I did, and that's what I'm actually turning into a book. I'm going to turn 101 days, the first 101 days of sobriety, and just, I'm playing with that right now. But those wins, I loved writing about the firsts,
Yeah.
like I kind of enjoyed it. I'm like, okay, this one's going to be hard. I remember I was a part of a bowling league, and I remember going to my first bowling league sober. And I'm like, here's 150 people getting wasted.
Totally. Pictures of beer. I can.
Yes. And I remember going, this is going to be interesting, and I walked in, and people who know me know the story, but it was just, it's so vivid in my mind. But I walked into the bar, and it was like Cheers, because they're like, hey, John. And I'm like, hey, what's going on? I walk up to the bar, and the bartender already has her hand on the tap with a glass pouring my beer, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, I'm not drinking. And they're like, what's the matter? Are you not feeling well? And I go, no, I decided to quit. Right. And they're like, oh, don't be a quitter. And I remember thinking, I can't believe you just said that to me. And that was another one of those where I'm like, you know what? This is over, man. I just got nothing. And so it was the easiest first of them all, which I thought was going to be more.
That's so cool. Great story.
Isn't that funny?
I love that. I love that. But you're exactly right. It's the little things, and you're so smart to have started documenting it right off the bat.
It was great. I loved it.
That's so great.
I think it was part of my success was I had that thing to do every morning, and I did it every single, and I kept it up. I stopped at the 101 because I decided to turn that into a book, but then I kept going for probably 160 days. I wrote every day for 160. And then I'm like, okay, I got to taper this back because I don't write short blogs either. They're kind of long. And so now I do it twice a week with my podcast and everything, but I still love it. I look forward to it. I think it's just, I love learning about it.
Yeah, me too. And you and I were talking about this before we recorded. It's so vast, so endless, learning about our mind and the capabilities that we really do have. And how to utilize and have access to so much more than we sell ourselves so short out there.
Yes, we do.
We do.
It's that idea of settling, I think, and that's the one there, because I had fully settled. People talk about bottoms. I didn't, I never lost my job. I never, screwed up my life and, to the point where I had no return or feeling like that. But my bottom was my own. I had settled into just misery. I wasn't happy, I drank every day to get through the day and, that kind of thing. So it's different for everyone.
Yeah.
But it's that realization that, hey, it's time, right? It's time to make that change.
I say that all the time, the wrong question to ask is, am I an alcoholic? Is it bad enough? Do I have to stop? Do I need to stop?
Right.
Instead, it sounds like you and I both are coming from a lot the same place, which is, I didn't have a big rock bottom either. I didn't have a crash and burn, I didn't lose anything. I didn't get the DUI. I've not been incarcerated. All those things, which, again, I'm not above. I'm just saying, give me more time. I don't know. But for me, it was like, is this good enough? Not, is this bad enough? And to level up, it's like leveling up. It's like raising your personal standard. Tony Robbins talks about that all the time.
Yeah.
Have a vision to raise your own standard. And that's what I wanted to do. It was like, I was just so in the minutiae, in the middle land. I was trying to describe it to someone the other day who is further down the spectrum. And she just said, oh, Jen, I had no idea how miserable and how much turmoil there was in that gray area drinking zone, that habitual autopilot, mindless drinking. It's miserable.
Yeah. And you really have nowhere to go from there. You just kind of stay in that spot and you kind of get stuck there and there's nothing.
Get worse before you get better, or do you break out of the whole thing? And that's what you and I and so many others are willing and wanting to do. Is like, wait a minute. I think I've been duped by the marketing and the messaging. I think I'm actually minimizing my own resilience and handing over and outsourcing my own power. I work primarily with women, all the Me Too and women's empowerment movement. I see nothing more unempowering than drinking.
Absolutely.
It's unempowering because it says you're not enough, or you can't handle this, or you're not fun without her. You can't be a good mom unless you have a little bit of mommy juice. So here, do this. And I think, oh my gosh, that really takes away our power, because I think our presence is our power. That's where we go.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great way I like that a lot. That's, another short little story that you just reminded me of. And cause I had been thinking about this for quite a while before I actually made the steps, but I remember one thing that really hit me about the alcohol that I was like, God, this is bizarre. But I used to do a pedicab. Do you know what those are?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, for like ball games and stuff like that. So I used to do that on the side just for fun, make a bunch of money, kept me in shape, I loved it.
Yeah, oh, for sure.
And yeah. And but I remember I did a pedicab for it was Beyonce concert in Seattle.
Oh, wow.
And the women, showed up in droves, right? And we knew it was going to be a big night. And at the end of the concert, the women were so wasted and drunk that they were passing out on the sides of the streets and all this kind of stuff. And I remember kind of watching that whole thing go down, just going, this is kind of the opposite, isn't it?
Yeah.
Of what, she's trying to put there. And I remember it kind of bugged me because I'm like, that's not what it's about,
Right.
Letting
women slay, and they're literally slain. They're like women down. And
yeah, it kind of broke my heart a little bit. I was like, wow, this is powerful,
Yeah.
So it was interesting when you said that about how, it does take away that power,
It does. Sure. I feel like it's really a powerful thing to stay present. Yeah. And the marketing and the messaging they're telling us, men and women, but especially in the mom zone, they looked at women about 15 years ago. They looked at the demographics of who was not drinking enough from a monetary standpoint. And they said, well, we've got the guys drinking. They've got their beer and their whiskey and their bourbon. They're good. We've got, blah, 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 the 20-somethings. It's a missed market. They looked and really saw the niche of the mom culture and the middle-aged women, empty nester culture, and said, we can change that. We can make it rosy all day. We can put, skinny on the bottle and make cute labels and put it at Target all over the place. So when they're buying blueberries for their yogurt, they'll say Prosecco. And they'll say, oh, but this is totally normal. Let's do that. Because that was me. I walked in, at 3 p.m. most afternoons. I had all my good intentions that morning. I literally did, John. Like many of us, I woke up saying, I'm not going to drink tonight. I don't want it. I don't need it. It's a Tuesday. I'm going to do yoga. I'm going to juice my kale, which I sure did. I did all of that. I did go to yoga, and I was sweating out like Pinot Grigio. And then I would juice my kale on the same island that then I would break open a bottle of wine, and it would always tend to start when I was cooking. That was kind of like my time, my trigger, my thinking of like, well, it's 5:00, certainly somewhere. This is going to be a long night. We've got homework, probably some conflict, sprinkle in a little conflict with the homework. Probably going to get my feelings hurt, probably going to just feel like this is long and kind of boring. And so I know how I can make it more fun. I think I'll just open a bottle and I'm just going to have a glass or two, which we know is not really the case. Yep. And I would just nurse a bottle of wine all night long, a glass here, a glass there. Usually rounded up in the bathtub. That's the bathtub glass, which there's so much marketing to women about that. And then I would recycle the bottle and try to almost act like it didn't even happen because I was so bummed out that I did it again. Got to be kidding me. I cannot believe I did a 90-minute yoga class today, drank kale, and then had 700 calories of pure sugar and ethanol. Like, I can't believe I did that again.
Yeah. My wife used to talk about that too, because she was like, I don't put salad dressing on my salad, but I'm drinking alcohol like it's water. Yeah. And she was like, this is just stupid. Yeah.
It's insane.
Well, so listen, we're going to go ahead and kind of wrap this up, but I do want you to, tell us a little bit about your program, your challenge, because I think that's really cool. And I think that, plug yourself and where people can find it and all that.
Sure. Thank you. Well, okay, so I started this 21-day reset because I figured 21 days is where I started to feel some momentum. So I started a 21-day reset where I kind of give the best of what I had learned in my first month or two alcohol-free in that reset so that women can learn a lot of practical mindset tools. I kind of go the mind, body, spirit connection. I kind of take a holistic view of everything, and just kind of throw in the kitchen sink. I'm trying to share as much as I can, almost like drinking out of a fire hydrant. They come in a series of emails, but what makes Sober Sis really different is the connection piece. We are a very, it's a special group of ladies. We couldn't be more diverse, but yet we're so like-minded. And our goal to change this one aspect of our life that we're thousands strong now. And we have a very active private Facebook group so that women can get in there and not feel like their boss or their neighbor is going to watch them kind of wrestle with this out loud. We don't use labels. There's no shame. There's no judgment. And if after 21 days you didn't, hit perfection, we don't care. It's about progress. And what did you learn? And what do you want to do next? And so that's kind of the vibe of our tribe, if you will, is a lot of acceptance and a lot of room to make it okay if it's messy. But what I find is a lot of women, if they just had the right tools and had the right connection, much like myself, they're finding freedom and not drinking again. So we've had women, Sober Sis, that just signed up for the 21-day reset and have hit their year and a half, 2-year mark.
That's awesome. And you do that every month?
Tend to. They just started learning and connecting, and that made all the difference.
That's great. And so where can people go to find more about that?
Yeah, so I start that challenge at the beginning of every single month. And if women want to go to sobersis.com/21, the number 21 day challenge, they can sign up. It's $97 one time. And for that, now I feel like I am doing like an infomercial, but for that,
that's all right.
You get so much more. I've had women involved in our community for over a year, completely changed their life. They've saved thousands of dollars from not drinking, and they're blown away that, a rehab costs 30, 40 grand. And yet for $97, actually less than what we were spending on alcohol, people are finding freedom. And I used to give it away for free. Quite honestly, I found that people weren't as successful because when people pay, they pay attention. And
they show up because they know that they have
having a personal trainer or meeting a friend for a workout, you're just going to show up differently. And so that's also really helped people have success and allow me to do this full time.
That's awesome. I love it. That's very cool. Congratulations on that.
Yeah, thanks. Who knew?
Awesome. Well, Jen, it's been great. I had to kind of cut that off. I'm like, I kind of feel like we could have just kept talking. Like, we're going to lose people here soon. So.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Yeah. But thank you for coming on and talking about this and your story. It's been a great getting to know you a little bit more. Maybe we can do it again, down the road. Yeah. For sure.
Yeah, I would love to have you. I have that AFL alcohol-free lifestyle course. It's really fun to bring in kind of experts and people where they've really drilled into a field of thinking or thought or experience like your CBT. Anyway, it would be fun to bring you on to really drill into that because I think you've got a lot of perspective on that. So
I would love to do that. Let me know anytime.
Yeah, so I think that could be our next way to just collaborate and have fun and let people know about you. I think you're.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
You're learning exciting. I love it.
Cool.
Well,
Jen, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
And I'll look forward.
Let me know when or where this goes, and if I can do anything to help promote it or share it. If you do anything on Instagram, tag me, and I'll.
Yeah, I will.
You'll have access to everything. Stratosphere of Instagram land.